Hi there. This is going to be a walkthrough of how to create a simple mission using the BoneCrafter Mod Kit tools. I'm going to make an island with an orc area and an elf area that is separated by a forest. The things that will be covered are placing objects in the world and the different ways you can modify these objects once they are in the world. I will also talk about deforming the terrain and painting it. I will assume you have downloaded the file leveldesigntutorial01.mis. Put it in your missions folder and restart BoneCrafter. Now let's start by opening the mission file for this walkthrough. From the main menu, go to Custom and open the file called leveldesigntutorial01.mis. This will take you to a loading screen while the engine loads the mission file. This mission file is a good template to start with. It only has the basic things such as a terrain, skybox, daylight cycle, and a water block in it. To get into the editor tools, press F11. The editor tools are where we are going to do everything within this tutorial. These tools edit mission files and terrain files. So for example, you can open a new mission file, save the current mission file, or save the current terrain. Here in the World Editor setting, you can alter how you view the editor tools. And down here is where you can change the move, scale, and rotate scale increments by which objects within the world move. In the upper right-hand corner is the tree view that contains every object within the mission. Here is my terrain object. F3 will take you to the object properties of whatever object you have selected. This is my water block object. Its settings allow me to change its size and grid size. The first two values of its size need to be a multiple of the grid size. Here I can also change how the waves of the water block behave. This is my skybox object. I can change the text files it is using for the day and night sky, how the cloud layer moves across the sky, my near distance, as well as my visible distance and my fog. The fog is used to fade between what you can see and what you can't see in the distance, to give it a smooth transition. Wind is something that affects the cloud layer, as well as any particle effects that are marked to be affected by wind. I'm going to start by creating an orc hut. So the first thing I do is create a folder that I will put all of the objects that make up the orc hut. Press F4 to see the object creation view. Under the Mission Objects folder, open the System folder and click on the Sim Group object. I'm going to name the folder Orc Hut, and now it will be created in my root folder, Mission Group. I want all new objects to go into this folder, so I hold down the Alt key and click on the folder I want new objects to go into. You can tell what folder this is because it will always have the red arrow on it. I now need to define where in the world I want the new object to appear. I go to World and then go down to Drop at Camera. This will make any new object appear at the location of my camera. Under Interiors, I am going to open the Orc folder and put the object orc_stone01 into the world. And here is the start of my orc hut. It's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to open the console by pressing Shift plus tilde. I can now change the daylight by typing in Set Daylight and setting it to Dusk Shadows Off. I then pause the daylight. You can rotate the object by grabbing any of its axes and holding down Alt. You can undo changes made to the object with Ctrl-Z or under Edit. You can scale an object within its object properties under its Scale field. You can also scale objects by holding down Alt and Ctrl, and then grabbing any of its axes. You move objects by grabbing their axes without holding down any keys. To get finer placement of them, you can set the increments you use to move an object under grid. You can also move an object freely along its X and Y axes by grabbing its bounding box. I am now going to create a folder under the Orc Hut folder to put miscellaneous objects around the hut in. I'm going to bring in an orc sack object, since I assume the orcs will have lots of booty. I'm now going to make a copy of the sack, and I want that copy to appear right on top of the original sack, so I go to World and select Drop at Centroid. Now when I copy and paste the sack, it will appear in the same spot, so I know it's already touching the ground. When working with objects placed within the bounds of other objects, such as the sacks within the orc hut, it will make your life easier if you lock the object, i.e. the hut, that the other objects, i.e. the sacks, are placed within. You can do this under World and Lock Selection. I'm now going to put some more sacks around the hut. Now I want to put some grass in the world, so I'm going to create a new folder for my grass and name it Grass. I want the grass I bring in to appear where this sack is, so I select it. And bring in some grass. And smoke it. I want my grass to waver in the wind, so I need to give it a static animate property. Under the grass's properties, I activate Static Animate and set the shear and wave time, and voila, my grass is moving. Now I want to change what color my grass is, so I open up the object by pressing the plus sign next to it and selecting its material. Under its material, I'm going to activate Use HSL and then change its hue and luminance. When I'm happy with my changes, I select Save Material, so the engine knows to save these changes the next time I load this mission file. I then click Apply, and the change is solidified. I now want to put my new color on the first piece of grass, so I select the newly colored grass and go to Edit and then Copy Material. I can now select the first grass patch, and under Edit, select Paste Material. And now I have 2 dead grass patches. Now I'm going to select both of these grass patches and copy and paste both of them together, making a large grass patch that I can bring around to the other parts of the hut. I can use nudge hotkeys to move objects around the world for a finer tuning of its placements. Holding down Control, you can use the arrow keys and page up and down to move the objects around in the world in the increments set under Grid. I'm now going to show you how to change the texture that is on an object to a completely new texture. I'm creating a bonfire made up of many textures. I open up the Object's Material tree and select the Boulder 2 texture. Under Pass 0, I go to the Base Texture field and change it from Boulder 2 to Boulder 2_burnt. I then click Save Material, so the change will appear the next time I open the mission file. And now, I have burnt rocks around my bonfire. To hide and re-show the tree view and the properties fields for better viewing of the world, press Ctrl F1. I'm now going to throw together the rest of the level in fast motion. So, here is the level I put together. We have a little orc hut, a little forest patch, and an elf brothel hut. Shit, a gap in my roof. Let me fix that. All right, that looks good.